some other people will probably join in a bit. So last week we talked about government, how government works, especially as related to, Cedric's here, state legislature. Linda, are you recording?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, weird. It doesn't even show. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody's doing okay. Last week, I did a huddle on how the government works with the branches of government, and in particular, looking at our state legislature. And this week, we're going to talk about voting. And yeah, I think I mentioned it last week also, but just a reminder that Code the Dream is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, which means we are nonpartisan. So we can advocate for, nonprofits can do some advocacy around issues, but not for any specific party or candidate. That's one of the rules. So let's see. All right, here we go with a little trivia. So get ready to type in the chat. Let me bring up the chat so I can see it. Where's it? Okay, so in the chat, where is it? Okay, when the US officially became a country, 1776, who had the right to vote? White men, white men. Okay, anything else about those white men? Yes, that's all true. White men that own property. Yes, landowners, exactly. That's right. White land owning men were the only people who could vote. So obviously the right to vote has evolved over the years. Okay, here's the next one. August 18th, just a month ago, 2020 marked the 100-year anniversary of what group gaining the right to vote in the US? Yes, women, of course, yes. Women gained the right to vote, yes. So I'm gonna go through this brief voting timeline because I think it's pretty interesting, and I put the link down here, and I'll share this with you guys later so you can get to the link. But I was just going to point out a few of the things. I'm not going to go through all of it because it would take a really long time. But this I really liked. I looked at several different voting timelines, and I really liked this one because it's really interesting. It shows you over here on the side, you know, who can vote and who can't vote, and how it expands and grows, and sometimes decreases as well. So in 1776, again, only white property owners could vote. And as you can see, there's always some little, we're not going to go through every single thing because it would take forever again, but like in New Jersey did allow women to vote because they were allowed to own property, but that was not true nationwide. Okay. In 1790, the naturalization law passed, and that meant that only free white immigrants could become naturalized citizens. Then New Jersey women were banned from voting. 1848 was a very big year because it was there was a Seneca Falls Convention at which African-American voter activists and women's rights activists kind of came together for voting rights expansion. Okay, let's see. So in 1870, the 15th Amendment passed. So vote cannot be denied because of race explicitly. So then that's when other tactics began to be used, like poll taxes and other things like that. As you can see, sometimes the right to vote was extended and sometimes it was rescinded. So the Supreme Court ruled that Native Americans are not citizens and could not vote. Then through the Chinese Exclusion Act, people of Chinese ancestry were banned from becoming US citizens and therefore not allowed to vote.
How were people banned from voting because of their race? Like if someone like with like that was Black went to the voting place, like they wouldn't even get there and then get in.
Well, at first, so before the 15th Amendment, it was explicit, it was explicit that certain individuals couldn't vote. But after the 15th Amendment, they said on paper that some people, that Black people could vote, but then in practice, there was things put in place that wouldn't allow that. Let me see. Through, let's see, in 1920, the right to vote was extended to women, mostly white women. In 1922, people of Japanese heritage are ineligible to become naturalized citizens. And, quote, Asian Indians were also not eligible to naturalize. So it keeps, again, it's just, there's, long history. Indian Citizenship Act grants citizenship to Native Americans, but many states made laws to prevent voting. Okay. 1952, people with Asian ancestry can vote. 1965, it was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was really significant. Let's keep going. There was one that's not in, the 1971, the voting age was lowered to 18. So that was pretty significant because, of course, during the Vietnam War, people were getting drafted, 18-year-olds were getting drafted to go fight in the war, but they didn't have the power to vote before 1971.
What was the previous age?
I think it was 21. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. So there's been some pretty, the residents of US colonies cannot vote, and felons, people with a felony on their record, also cannot vote. So as you can see, it's really been just a kind of an interesting push for continued expansion of who is included in our right to vote, but then also times of actually taking that away. So I'll share this and you can read through it. There's obviously so much more. So now let's get into like a more contemporary, that's sort of some of the history, and now we'll get into some more contemporary issues. So who can and can't vote now? So if you guys want to type in some of the requirements for what it is to be able to vote in the United States. Okay, felons can't vote. Immigrants, naturalized immigrants, right, so citizens, if you are an immigrant who is naturalized to become a US citizen, if you have that privilege, then you can vote. But residents, any immigrant who is not a citizen cannot vote. Yeah. So age requirements, I think we know that, right? We just saw that you have to be over 18. Citizenship requirements, you must be a US citizen. Justice system involved, that varies a little bit by state, but in general, convicted felons cannot vote. And then we'll look at some of the registration requirements now. So for voter eligibility, it's, like I said, it's a little bit different depending on the state, but in general, you must be a citizen of the United States. You must be a resident of your state in the precinct where you live for at least 30 days. You have to be 18 and not currently serving a felony sentence, including probation, parole, or post-release. Okay, ready? Here comes another one. When is election day? November 3rd, Tony. All right, Tony. Great job. I'm not going to go through all of these things, but we are actually, is this the time when we, hang on, can I move that? Can't. Every state is a little bit different. Let me see. Everyone on this call is in North Carolina except Rod. Last week we had people from all over the place. So looking at, hang on a second. Right, so only certain people are eligible to vote. And then then you can, we're actually gonna visit now, if everybody can go to and find their state Board of Elections website. And then in a different tab, find your county Board of Elections website. And then those of you who are US citizens, you can check if you are registered to vote. There's also a site called vote.org. Vote.org, it will connect you. It's a very easy way. I keep referring to it in this presentation because we have people all over the country. It's a very easy way to find the requirements and the links for your state. Oh, Crystal just made it easy for everybody in North Carolina by putting in the link. But also I want you to find your county Board of Elections because that is going to be important. And you can check if your registration by going to your state Board of Elections and also going to vote.org. So has anybody checked? Can they see if they're registered? Can they confirm their registration?
I'm registered in Alabama because I had a social movements class where we did a voter drive. So.
And that's how you got registered, through your class?
Yeah, that's how I changed my registration so I could vote in person in Troy instead of trying to do absentee ballot for my parents' hometown.
Cool. Are you gonna change your registration to North Carolina?
Yes, because my vote counts way more in North Carolina than Alabama.
Okay, cool. So voter registration deadlines do depend on your state. So anyway, this is the North Carolina deadlines. So did anybody else double check their registration? Okay, Tony checked a month ago. Cool. Okay. All right. So next question. Okay, what are the ways that you can vote this year? What are your options? It's been a lot of talk about it in the news, so hopefully people know. What are your options? Yes, mail is one. What are the others? So there's 2 other ways to vote. You can vote by mail. Nick, these are the ways that you can vote. We're asking about how you can vote. No trolls, Nick. Okay. Mail in person, and early voting. That's right. Okay, awesome. Okay, vote by mail, vote early.
That was my Russian bot who did that.
That was a Russian bot. I thought so. All options are safe and secure. So just going to go briefly over these options. Voting by mail. You want to make, every state has a little different requirements. So make sure you check your state Board of Elections for accurate information and deadlines. If you plan to vote by mail, or if you know somebody who is planning to vote by mail, you need to request your ballot as soon as possible from your Board of Elections. Some places require you to have a witness when you fill it out and sign it, and some don't. So you have to double check that. Absentee and mail-in ballot is the same thing. It's just a different term. Yes. And the difference is that this year, it used to be that there was a lot of requirements around who could ask for an absentee ballot. Like maybe you couldn't be actually residing in your state when you were requesting it. But this year, anybody can do it. That's why they're not calling it absentee, because you don't actually have to be absentee. Anybody can do it. And then, but again, I think this depends on the state, so you have to double check. Crystal, we will find somebody to be your witness. I did not think North Carolina was requiring witness, but yeah, that's fine. That will, if you've looked into that, that's fine. I will come be your witness if you need a witness, Crystal. And then you want to make sure the ballot is returned to the correct location on time. It really has to get in on time. So I know there's people who are even mailing it in right now. Some people, did anybody else get an absentee ballot in the mail? I got one. I've gotten probably multiple. But so because of all of the things that are going on with the mail-in voting and everything this year, there's a lot of organizations that are actually sending out absentee ballots to residents. So you just have to, in some cases that's fine, but you just have to make sure if it's already partially filled out in any way, then it is not valid. So I would be safe and just get it directly from the Board of Elections. But because yeah, if it's partially filled out, it will not be counted. You know, filled out by somebody else. You have to fill out the entire thing yourself. Okay. Vote early. Who's voted early previously? I know I have voted early. Anybody else ever voted early?
I did.
Okay, cool. So you can vote early, because, and the main reason is that it's more convenient because there are a lot more places where you can vote. If you vote on election day, like we'll see, you have to go to your polling place only. But if you vote early, you can go to a number of different places, and you can also, Lydia, this could be important for you, you can actually register during early voting. So you can register or update your registration right there on site, which you cannot do on election day. You can only do that during early voting. I don't know the rules about other states. In North Carolina, early voting dates are Thursday, October 15th through Saturday the 31st. And you have to look up your county for the locations and the times. Every county has a different location that is available. There's usually many locations and many different hours options. If you vote in person on election day, you have to go to your specific polling location, and that depends on your address, and it depends on where your address when you registered. So you have to check, you have to confirm that location. You will not be able to vote if you go to the wrong place on election day. For early voting, you can go to any of the sites. Okay, here is a little commercial break for voting. I don't know if there are other Hamilton fans out there, but this was just a little Hamilton commercial that they did. This was for a couple years ago, but I still like it. So, oops. Oh, where's my link? Okay.
Common Sense by Thomas Paine. I've got national elections on the brain. You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So how you gonna change the nation? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And when you vote for president, you get to pick who participates in the sequel. Work, vote, vote. America, vote, vote. The time is now. Vote, vote. Decide who wins this. Vote.
Okay, there's my little voting commercial. Okay. Now this is going to be the number one most useful part, probably, for some people. And I think this is really interesting for people who cannot vote as well, because as we'll talk about later, people who cannot vote can still participate in the process, and it's still important to know who is running, and you can also help advise people who you know who are citizens who are able to vote. So we're gonna now find your sample ballot in advance, which is, I just think is so cool. because then you can see exactly what your ballot's going to look like. So you can go and you can be totally ready before you actually go to vote. So, let me see. So I'm going to show you how I do mine. So can you guys see my screen still?
I can see you.
You don't see my screen though?
Maybe because I do. Yep.
Okay.
I had to minimize. Sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to go to vote.org just because it's easy. North Carolina. Okay. I'll just check my registration real quick. Let's see. All right, let's see.
Model.
All right. Oh, you see how old I am, which is fine. Okay, so I am registered to vote, and wait, didn't take me to where I wanted to go. Sorry, I thought it takes you to the Board of Elections website. Hang on. Yeah, okay, here, this is what I thought it was doing. It's actually kind of cool. You can think about it as programmers too. Like, it's kind of cool, this site, the Board of Elections lookup, because they have a sounds like thing. So you can actually look up anybody to see if they're registered to vote. You can look up your friends to see, yeah. I am in Orange County. And let's see. Okay, so this again, this is from the North Carolina State Board of Elections. This is me. Yes, this is the correct person. I'm going to click on myself. And this is the cool stuff. So this will tell you right over here where your polling place is. Will tell you, you can look up you can see who's voted when. You can see my voting history. You can't see who I voted for, but you can see that I voted. Or you can see that I requested, I'm an independent voter. I'm not registered with the Democratic or Republican Party, but you can see which primary ballot I requested. So yeah, it's kind of interesting information.
Can I say something?
Yes.
How do we, in North Carolina, how do we change the fact that you can only pick one? Why can't you just get a ballot that lets you do both? What if you
what do you call that kind of voting? It's tiered or ranked voting. I can't think of the name. There's a name for it.
No, it's not ranked choice voting. What I'm talking about is if I want to, all right, for example, if I want to vote for Joe Biden for the presidential nomination, right? And then what if I want to pick a Republican congressman from our district?
You can do that.
You can. You always
do that.
You can. North Carolina does not have straight party voting anymore. So there's no way to say vote all Democrat or all Republican. For every single race, you say who you want to vote for.
Right. So when I voted in the primary, they asked me Republican or Democrat, and I was like, Democrat. And they give you a Democrat ballot, and that's all you get. You don't get nothing else.
That's true for the primary, but in the general election, you can vote for anyone. For the primary, you have to choose: are you going to go Democrat or are you going to go Republican?
I think we got. How do we take that out? That is un-American. When they say choice, like, we should be able to have all choices. Doesn't matter who.
Yeah. And on election day, you do, but not in the primary. Okay, but sample ballot. This is like my favorite thing ever. So, and I think this is really cool. So you can, this is the North Carolina one, and those of you who don't live in North Carolina, you're going to go and find the ones for your state. But this shows you exactly. So general election, November 3rd, you can see exactly what my ballot is going to look like. And this is where, Nick, you can, choose anyone. It tells you their party. Trump, Republican, Biden, Democrat, and then you see there's all these other parties, the Constitution Party, the Green Party, Libertarian. So this is exactly what my ballot is going to look like.
Right. But then that brings back the issue of like what we talked about last week, that we need to focus on the 2-year votes. And in the 2-year votes is when they suppress us. They're like, you can only pick one party and vote for that. So no,
you can see, like, you can vote for a Republican senator and then a Democratic House of Representatives. And so it is in the primary, you do have to choose which ballot. But for your other, once you're in the general election, you can vote for anybody. Oh, Narayan is asking, what's the difference between a general and a primary? Does somebody else want to answer that?
I guess the primary is like the primary is when candidates of the same party are contending for the nomination of their respective parties. And in the general election, it's pretty much like the both parties are facing each other for the seat, for whatever position they're campaigning for.
Exactly. So for the exactly what Nick said. And you can see, I'll choose the Democratic ballot for the primary, assuming I can still see it. That's when just because there were so many options, that's when for president, it was all of the different Democratic nominees that were running. So everyone from the Democratic Party got to choose between all of these Democrats. And then eventually, Joe Biden was the choice. And then, so in the general election, that's when it's just, basically Trump versus Biden. None of these other people are going to win. So the primary is just within, you vote just within one party so that the party can basically come together and decide. Yeah. Okay, so that's how you get to your sample ballot, and you're going to go back there when we do that. And remember that your ballot is specific to what they call your polling location. So it's just based on your address. So my ballot is not going to look the same as, Linda's ballot, because she's in Durham. I'm in Carborough. Now Carborough is pretty small, so probably most people in Carborough, well, no, even we might have different ballots because there might be, if there's a city council election, it might be divided up. Okay, so here's the next really important part. So preparing to vote and deciding who to vote for. There's a few different ways you can decide who to vote for. I remember last time Jorge was like, whoa, that's a lot, because there's so many different offices, right? And different choices that you have. But it's important to know who you're gonna vote for. So you can, once you have your sample ballot, you can look up every single one of these people on your sample ballot and research them and say, okay, well, let me make sure I know who I want to vote for. Now, some people will say, okay, I'm going to vote for all Democrats, Democrat, whatever. But some people, are going to want to choose, different people. And sometimes there may be, 2 Republicans running for a city council seat or something that you have to choose between. So you're going to want to know who they are. So yeah, you can go to their websites. You can look up, you can attend candidate forums online now. You can look up how they voted in the past, what bills they've sponsored, and you can also look up who has contributed to their campaign, so you can see who they are, going to be wanting to please. So that takes a lot of work, though that's probably the best way to see who aligns with your values. The other thing you can do is you can look for nonpartisan groups that send out candidate questionnaires. I found this one, I was out and about the other day, and I found this from North Carolina, which is the voter guide. This is put out by Democracy North Carolina, and they are a nonpartisan group. And they basically have descriptions of all of the candidates. Now, they're not giving endorsements. They're not saying, we think you should vote for this candidate. They're just giving descriptions. So that's a little bit of an easier, oops, sorry. That's a little bit of an easier way than, say, going and looking up every single website yourself. you could find these. And a lot of times newspapers, local newspapers will do that. They'll have a list of questions and candidates and what their answers to those questions are. Another thing that you could do is actually, you could go to an organization that does make recommendations or does make endorsements, and you would want to look for an organization that shares your values. And a lot of these groups will come out with their own list of endorsements that you can just carry with you to make your selections. So like in Durham, the Indy Weekly is a newspaper. They come out with a list of endorsements, and you can just take their list for every county in the triangle and do that. The Rhino Times is a conservative newspaper in Greensboro. They make their list of who they think you should vote for. You could look for the NRA, or you could look for the NAACP to see what their recommendations are. So you can find groups who are not, now these are not 501c3 groups, because 501c3 nonprofits are not allowed to make endorsements. Like Code the Dream, we are not allowed to come out with a list of, we think you should vote for this people. Now, if you want my opinion, you can email me on my personal email, and I will give you all my opinions. But as Code the Dream, we're not allowed to do that. But you can look for organizations that are 501c4 organizations or other kinds of organizations that are allowed to make those endorsements if you want to take somebody else's recommendation. That's probably the easiest way to decide. Now, there are lots of ways that you can volunteer to get involved, and you can volunteer if you are a citizen or not a citizen. I have a friend who's running for office in Alamance County, and I have been, in my personal time, not Code the Dream time, been phone banking on my friend's behalf, calling voters to get the word out about him. So you can volunteer with Democrats, you can volunteer with Republicans. In North Carolina, and I'm sure other states too, the Board of Elections are looking for poll workers. There's all of these, old retired people who used to work the polls who are, afraid of coronavirus and are not able to volunteer this year. So that you might want to consider doing that if you want to get involved. Democracy NC has all kinds of ways you can get involved, including election protection, like making sure there's no voter fraud. There's Latino organizations, there's mom organizations. They have a get out the vote postcard thing. You can sign up and to write postcards to other moms to encourage them to vote. The NAACP has a whole campaign. So there's lots of ways that you can get involved. We at Code the Dream, we have a lot of immigrants, and there's a research center who is reported that 2020 is going to have a record number of naturalized immigrant voters. So it's really important. So immigrant voices are really going to matter in this election. I wanted to share this little message. This is
You're absolutely correct about that, Lori. That this election is the Latino is going to decide who wins and who loses.
Not just Latinos, but there's a lot of immigrants and refugees who are now naturalized. And this is what here's a message to maybe people who can't vote as well.
So once you're naturalized, you can vote.
Yes, Latino family, I'm just so thankful. We got the birthday card that you all sent along with 10,000 well-wishers, so I really appreciate it. We're coming together, and what this is all about is to make sure that we claim the power that we deserve in our democracy. That means showing up. That not only means voting, it means taking your tias, your primos, your friends. For those of us that have friends that can't vote for one reason or another, it's about making sure that we get in the polls so we can honor their presence in our country and give them power in our communities as well. So make sure you're registered. I mean, this is like basic, because that's how we claim all the power that we deserve. And I hope you go out in your communities, go above and beyond voting, go into organizing, go into fighting for our rights, because this is a critical time and this is our time.
Progressives. I think she's great.
So
away from my dreams.
Yeah. So one thing about contributions, I think that's the one thing that non-citizens are not supposed to be giving money contributions to candidates, but you can volunteer and you can get involved. And I've got links to that information here. Other resources, there's a number of different resources you can look to. Votolatino.org, the Movement for Black Lives, March for Our Lives, newamericanvoters2020.org. Those are all some resources. And then in terms of voting information, you can look up vote.org, which I mentioned, ncvoter.org for North Carolina voters. This is a national election protection hotline in case there's any problems that you have or questions that you have about voting. And then I think this is really interesting. This is a link that Nick shared before. But if you are interested in learning more about money and influence in politics and who might be influencing your candidates, you can actually look all that stuff up. So here's a couple of links, and I'm going to send all this out. So you can check that out to continue to investigate and hold your own candidates accountable. Okay, this is one more commercial. There we go.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that.
This is the Mi Gente, this is the Spanish language one.
Mi gente, vente mi gente, es tiempo de escoger un presidente. Voten mi gente, voten mi gente, alce la mano y diga presente. Vente mi gente, vente mi gente, no deje que este país no nos cuente. Voten mi gente, voten mi gente, el 8 de noviembre pa'l frente.
Vote, vote, America. Vote, vote, the time is now. Vote, vote, decide who wins this. Vote.
Okay, that's my little commercial. So now you're going to go back into small groups. Sorry.
Es tiempo de escoger un presidente. Voten mi gente.
Sorry. Okay, you're going to go back into small groups like you did before and fill in your information so that you can record your Board of Elections website for the state, for the county. Find the link to your sample ballot in your area. If you are, you won't be able to do that if you're not registered, but hopefully somebody in your breakout group will be. And then look up and find the relevant dates, locations, and websites for early voting, in-person voting, voting by mail for your area. And remember, you're recording this as a reference for yourself later, but also for anybody else that you know who lives in your area. So I will give you this link. It's the same link as before, but it is a different tab at the bottom. So this time you're going to fill it in going down. So, you know, your name, state, county, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, hang on one second. Here's the link. And I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh, I don't, who's host? Can somebody put everyone into breakout? Or just make me host? Alex? Okay, thanks. Okay, I am going to put people in breakout rooms now.
Mi gente.
Okay. All right, here we go.
My screen didn't pop up.
Really? Oh, I wonder if it's.
Oh, because am I supposed to join one?
Yeah, you're supposed to join breakout room 3. Let me see. Yours didn't pop up?
Oh.
Alex.
Hey, sorry, I was just trying to work on something real quick.
I know. So it put you and Linda and Lydia together. That's funny.
All right, I'll join.
Thanks. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How was that process? You know, Narayan, have you voted before, or is this your first time?
Yeah, I did in 2016. That was my first time.
Oh, cool.
And then this would be my second time voting.
But you'll be in a different place, right? Because you'll be in
Yeah, different place. Yeah, that's the question that I was still wondering. I think I need to update my address since I moved to Greensboro. No more K.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But you can, if you vote during early voting, you can do it right then.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So I'll have the option to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got cut off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. But yeah,
What'd
I
you
mean, yeah,
guys
that was a
learn?
good point, or man, that we were just talking about bilingual stuff and how sometimes nowadays, like even kids like grow up kind of like ashamed of learning their native language, you know, because they don't want to be shamed for it, like in school or whatever. I don't know. So
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
what
of kids they only speak English now because they don't speak their parents, you know. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Right. So that's a big problem.
Yeah, we got a little sidetracked with languages.
Hey, that's okay. That's awesome. What about everyone else? Did anyone learn anything new? Are you useful?
C++.
C++? That is not voting, or is it?
No.
Had you guys all seen the sample ballots before, or was that something new?
Yeah, I'd seen one a couple of times.
That's exactly the ballot we get, right? The same
Yep.
exact one.
Yep. Okay. Is it going to be anyone's first time voting this year? Everyone's voted. Cool. Okay, great. Well, does anybody have any questions or conversation? Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I'll share the slides in case anybody wants that information. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Lori.
Lori, for
Thank
all
you,
your
Lori.
efforts putting that together.
Oh, yeah. No
Thank
problem.
you.